say that the latest Canadian election was quite something would be an understatement, with Markcarney making the Liberal Party win the election, even though not long ago the Liberal was in the swamp, and the Conservative was projected to win an easy majority government, and the NDP, the left-wing party, got completely decimated, and Jagmeet Singh has resigned from his position as the NDP party leader. Sure, it's a good thing that the dollar store version of Donald Trump got defeated, but in place we essentially got a red Tory. It really sucks for the Canadian left, but I do believe we can somewhat be optimistic for the NDP in the future, somewhat. This should serve as a good slap to the face that make them reconsider their strategy going forward. Under Jagmeet Singh, the NDP was placed as a slightly left party than the Liberal Party under Trudeau, and that placement did not land them huge victory. And at the latest election, they got completely washed, and they need a different approach. And I hear a lot of talk about how the NDP should find their next Jack Layton. I might be in the minority, but I don't think it's a good idea to have the next NDP leader to be a Jack Layton-ish. I don't want to disrespect the man because I do love and respect Jack Layton, but I think a lot of people oversell how good of a politician he was. Since he became the leader in 2004, the NDP under him had always achieved 4th place in every elections. Except of course the 2011 election, where the NDP won 103 seats and managed to become the official opposition party against Stephen Harper's Conservative Party. But a lot of factors outside Jack Layton's control made it so that he won 2nd place. First, the Liberal Party were incredibly weak during that election. They gambled with this dude, Michael Ignatieff, which was supposed to have this centrist appeal to him. It didn't pay off at all. Also, the Bloc Québécois were not looking too hot. That's because Quebecers had voted for the Bloc for a long time, so there was somewhat of this party fatigue going on. Also, in my personal opinion, Gilles Duceppe was not a super charismatic dude. He was kind of a snooze fest to listen to. Obviously, Jack Layton's personality contributed a lot to his huge success in the 2011 election, but it was also the fact that the Liberals were really weak everywhere in Canada and the Bloc were also weak in Quebec. What I'm trying to say is that the NDP never really had a successful approach, so they cannot go back to a previous strategy and hoping that it would work this time. And besides, Jack Layton's appeal is that he gave a vibe of a good caring grandpa. And this is precisely the opposite approach I want the NDP to go with. People are incredibly fucking angry at our current economic system, which has widened the gap between the have and the have-not. And people will simply stick with whoever matches the best with their hangers. This is why the right-wing populace is gaining ground everywhere around the world, since people like their aggressive style rhetoric. This is why a guy like Trump won the election. Sure, there is his hardcore MAGA diehard that will support him no matter what, but that group of people is not enough to elect him alone. What tipped the victory towards him is the people who saw him as someone who will help them in their economic life. Below all of the scandals and countless crimes he has committed, people saw him as a guy who was fucking pissed off by the economy and was going to do something about it. He was supposed to lower the cost of eggs. Now the reality is fucking hilarious. You might think that people should be smarter about who they are voting for, but at the end of the day, humans are emotional creatures first and rational second. And the fact that so many people can see a guy like Pierrepoilievre and think of him as a man of the little guy, despite the fact that he always has been on the side of big corporation, that's fucking frustrating. We cannot just conclude that it's just people being misinformed about Poilievre, Trump, and other right-wing populists. With their angry rhetoric, they are able to connect with people emotionally. An emotional connection that the NDP and other left-wing parties are not able to achieve. So if the NDP adopt a sort of caring good uncle act, I don't think it's gonna be as effective than being more mean and angry. Also, they should stop moving economically to the center and move back to the left, which is them going back to their roots of democratic socialism. Every left-wing parties in the world, once they get enough mainstream popularity, move their economic position to the center. That's because once a party who is critical and hostile towards the capitalist class gain enough momentum, big money interests start to pour into these left-wing parties in order to make them less mean towards the rich owner class. So, no, it's not because you'll present yourself as an hardcore anti-capitalist candidate in the next federal election that you'll start getting mountain of cash from rich people. No, because ultimately you'll get like 5 votes and you do not represent a real threat to the rich owners. But there's a trend of huge left-wing parties who start out as socialist or democratic socialists and gradually move more to the center and to a more social democratic stance. That's why you got the Socialist Party of Spain, which is a center-left social democratic party, but it started out as a true leftist socialist party. Or the Socialist Party of Portugal, which is a center-left social democratic party, but it started out as a real leftist socialist party. And you got the NDP, who the first leader was Tommy Douglas, a socialist who is kind of the reason we got universal healthcare in this country. But over time, the party has moved more and more to the center. I really think that the NDP should get back to their roots and move way more to the left. This will help them to stand out against the liberal, which if the NDP have like the same rhetoric as them, they will always be in a disadvantage, since the liberal have the monetary and legacy power behind them. Also, people's economic frustration mean that they are ready for candidates that diverge from the mainstream. It's also why the populist right wing is gaining. It's because some people really see them as anti-establishment people who are gonna shake the status quo and make the powerful pay. While it is true that right-wing populists posture as champion of the working class, in power they actually exacerbate the status quo, making the elites even more rich and powerful and crushing the everyday citizens. I feel people could be drawn to our party and candidate which advocate for radical change and are willing to deliver when they get into power. I believe that now more than ever there might be a chance of the NDP pulling out of the center and going back to the left. And that's precisely because of their defeat that I believe that. Remember what I've told you, that rich capitalists will pour money into left-wing parties when they start becoming a menace towards them? It's possible that the elites will sort of forget about the NDP since they have performed so poorly. Near the end of Justin Trudeau terms, it was pretty clear that the rich capitalists were sort of done with him, and they've decided to put most of their effort and money into Pierrepoilievre. But now that the new leader of the Liberal Party and the new Prime Minister, Markcarney, will be more right-wing on the economy than Justin Trudeau, the rich capitalists may have a newfound interest to support the Liberal Party. Also, even though nothing is guaranteed, there is a possibility that the Conservative Party of Canada might split. The current Conservative Party was a merger of two right-wing parties, the Reformist Party and the Progressive Conservative Party. The Reformist being more far-right and populist, and the Progressive Conservative being more center-right. It's been 4 elections that the Conservative lost first place, and each time they lost it, the tension between these two factions inside the party has been brewing. And with Poilievre losing the latest election, even though he had like a 20-point lead not long ago, the Progressive Conservative were quick to criticize him for his loss, which the Reformists have felt insulted and on the defensive. Depending how bad this conservative civil war will end up, if the party do split up, then for the next election, the rich capitalists will have their hands full into putting their support with the new far-right party, the new center-right party, and the Liberal Party. With their attentions turned towards these 3 parties, it's possible that the elites will just not bother with the weak NDP. And if that happens, hopefully the NDP leadership will realize that they would be better off employing a more grassroots approach with small dollar donations. I don't claim that what I've been talking about is gospel. I'm not here with my crystal ball predicting the future. I'm just telling you what could happen and why they would happen. But it's entirely possible that the NDP will just continue being ineffective social democrat.